This invitation looks fake. You can't come in here looking like that. This is a respectable event. The security guard, young and with a sneer on his face, puffed out his chest. He tapped the worn invitation Arthur held with a dismissive finger. Go on, move along. If you believe our veterans deserve respect, not suspicion, type honor our heroes below. Arthur Miller stood quietly. He was an older man, his clothes neat but simple. His hair was gray, and lines of experience were etched around his kind eyes. He looked like any other grandfather, unassuming and gentle. He clutched the slightly creased invitation to the annual Heroes Welcome Gala, an event meant to honor veterans like him. He had been looking forward to this evening. It was a chance to see old friends, to remember shared experiences, and to feel appreciated for the years he had given to his country. He wasn't one for fancy parties, but this one felt important. Inside his worn wallet, alongside a faded picture of his late wife, was a small, almost invisible scar on his old military ID. It was a tiny reminder of a day long ago, a day of fire and courage, a day that few knew about. He carried his past quietly, not as a burden, but as a part of who he was. Arthur tried again, his voice calm and polite. Excuse me, son. This invitation is real. It was sent to me personally. Perhaps you could check your list? The guard, whose name tag read B. Rexford, scoffed. List? I don't need a list to spot a fake. And frankly, you don't look like the type they'd invite to something like this. He looked Arthur up and down, his eyes filled with judgment. This is for real heroes, not for just anyone trying to get a free meal. A small crowd was beginning to gather. People in fine clothes, heading into the brightly lit hall, paused to watch. Their curious stares made Arthur's cheeks flush. He felt a familiar ache, the sting of being misjudged, of being invisible. I assure you, Arthur said, his voice steady despite the embarrassment. I am a veteran. I served for many years. This event is for people like me. Rexford laughed, a short, barking sound. Oh, everyone's a veteran when there's free food involved. Look, old man, I don't have time for this. Either you leave or I'll have you removed. We have important people arriving. He gestured vaguely towards the entrance, as if Arthur was blocking the path for kings and queens. The unfairness of it all felt heavy in Arthur's chest. He had faced far worse than an arrogant security guard, but this public dismissal, this casual cruelty, cut deep. He had defended the very freedom that allowed this young man to stand there and insult him. Have you ever been judged unfairly just by how you look? Type yes, I have, if this has happened to you. Arthur felt a surge of sadness. He had hoped for an evening of quiet dignity, and instead, he was being treated like a beggar. He could walk away. He could just go home and forget the whole thing. Part of him wanted to. But then he thought of his comrades, the ones who couldn't be here. He thought of the promises they made to each other, to always stand up for what was right, to never let their service be forgotten or disrespected. He looked at the guard, who was now preening slightly, enjoying the small audience he had gathered. Rexford seemed to think he had won, that Arthur would simply shuffle away defeated. Then, Arthur remembered something. Tucked away in his wallet, behind his old driver's license, was a small, plain business card. It held only a name and a private phone number. It was a number he had been given years ago by a man who had once been his commanding officer, a man who had said, "If you ever truly need anything, Arthur, anything at all, you call this number." He had never used it. He never thought he would need to. He had always solved his own problems, but this felt different. This wasn't just about him being denied entry. It was about the disrespect shown to all veterans, to the uniform he once wore with pride. With a quiet sigh, Arthur pulled out his old, simple cell phone. His fingers, a little stiff with age, carefully dialed the number from the card. The guard watched him, a smirk playing on his lips, as if expecting Arthur to call some equally unimpressive friend. The phone rang twice. A crisp, authoritative voice answered. Thompson. General Thompson, sir, Arthur said, his voice low but clear. This is Arthur Miller, Sergeant Miller, from your old unit. I hope I'm not disturbing you. The guard, Rexford, rolled his eyes dramatically for the onlookers. He clearly thought Arthur was putting on an act. On the other end of the line there was a brief pause, then General Thompson's voice, warmer now. Miller? Arthur Miller? Of course, I remember you. It's been too long. Is everything all right? You sound troubled. Well, sir, Arthur began, explaining the situation simply and without anger. He described the event, the invitation, and the guard's refusal. He didn't embellish. He didn't need to. The facts spoke for themselves. As Arthur spoke, the onlookers started to murmur. Some looked uncomfortable. A few even cast sympathetic glances Arthur's way. Rexford, however, still looked smug. When Arthur finished, General Thompson was silent for a moment. Then he said, his voice now like cold steel, "Stay right where you are, Sergeant Miller. I'm on my way. And tell that guard, tell him he's about to have a very bad day." Arthur disconnected the call. He looked at Rexford, his calm expression unwavering. "My friend is coming," he said simply. "He asked me to wait here." Rexford snorted. "Oh, I'm shaking in my boots. Your friend going to vouch for your fake invitation?" He crossed his arms, leaning back against the doorframe, trying to look imposing. The wait was not long, perhaps 3 minutes. 3 minutes where Arthur stood patiently, while Rexford occasionally made snide remarks to the other guards who had drifted closer, intrigued by the unfolding drama. Some of the guests who had paused to watch decided to enter the hall, but others remained, sensing that something significant was about to happen. Then they heard it, the distinct sound of sirens, not loud and blaring, but the purposeful, attention-grabbing kind that usually accompanied important motorcades. 2 sleek black cars with official insignia pulled up swiftly to the curb, their doors opening almost before they stopped. Out of the first car stepped a tall, imposing figure in a perfectly pressed military dress uniform, stars gleaming on his shoulders. It was General Thompson, his face set in a grim line. He was followed by 2 aides, equally stern-faced. Rexford's smirk vanished, his jaw dropped. His face, so full of arrogance moments before, turned a sickly shade of pale. He straightened up so fast he nearly stumbled. The other guards suddenly looked very busy trying to appear professional. General Thompson strode directly towards Arthur, ignoring everyone else. He stopped in front of the older man, his stern expression softening instantly into one of genuine warmth and respect. He extended his hand. "Arthur," the general boomed, his voice full of emotion, "it is an honor to see you, my friend." He then pulled Arthur into a firm, respectful embrace, patting him on the back. Rexford looked like he had seen a ghost. He fumbled with his radio, his hands shaking. He opened his mouth, then closed it again, unable to form words. General Thompson turned slowly, his eyes, now like chips of ice, fixing on the terrified security guard. "You," the general said, his voice dangerously quiet, "you are the one who refused entry to Sergeant Arthur Miller?" Rexford swallowed hard. "Sir, I was just following procedure. The invitation, it looked." "Procedure?" General Thompson interrupted, his voice rising with controlled anger. "Let me tell you about Sergeant Miller's procedure. This man, Arthur Miller, served this country for 30 years. 30 years of his life dedicated to protecting the freedoms you so casually enjoy." The general took a step closer to Rexford, who seemed to shrink under his gaze. "This man," he continued, his voice resonating through the now silent entryway, "is a decorated hero. He holds the Silver Star for gallantry in action. He has 2 Purple Hearts. He saved the lives of 5 men in his platoon, including mine, under heavy enemy fire. He dragged me, unconscious, a quarter of a mile through a burning field while bullets whizzed past his head." Gasps rippled through the onlookers. Rexford's face was ashen. He looked like he wanted the ground to swallow him whole. "He doesn't look the type?" General Thompson spat the words out like poison. "He is the exact type this event is supposed to honor. He is the reason we have events like this. He is a hero, and you treated him like a criminal. If you think true heroes often don't look for applause, type quiet strength in the comments." The general turned to one of his aides. "Get the event organizer out here, now." The aide nodded sharply and hurried into the hall. To Rexford, the general said, "Your name and badge number." His voice was flat, devoid of emotion, which was somehow more terrifying. Trembling, Rexford managed to stammer, "B. Rexford, sir. Badge 473. General Thompson nodded slowly. "Rexford. I will remember that name." Just then, a flustered man in a tuxedo, the event organizer, rushed out, trailed by the aide. "General Thompson, what an unexpected honor. Is there a problem?" He looked from the general's furious face to Arthur's calm one, then to the pale, sweating Rexford. "There is a significant problem," General Thompson stated. "This man," he pointed at Rexford, "not only insulted and demeaned one of this nation's finest heroes, but he also represents your organization." This is how you treat the veterans you claim to honor? The organizer looked horrified. No, sir, absolutely not. I am so deeply sorry. This is unacceptable. Mr. Miller, please, accept my sincerest apologies. He turned to Arthur, his face filled with shame. Arthur simply nodded. He wasn't one for dramatics. He just wanted the unfairness to be corrected. Apologies are a start, General Thompson said, but actions are required. This guard, Rexford, is a disgrace to any uniform he wears. He lacks judgment, respect, and basic human decency. The general looked directly at Rexford. You are not fit to guard a public toilet, let alone an event honoring men and women who have sacrificed for this country. He paused, then delivered the final blow. Take off your badge, Rexford. You're done here. Rexford's eyes widened in disbelief, then filled with a dawning despair. Slowly, his shaking hands fumbled with the badge on his chest. It clattered to the ground. He looked utterly defeated. The event organizer quickly spoke. General, Mr. Miller, please, come in. You will be my personal guest of honor. Anything you need, anything at all. He looked genuinely contrite. And rest assured, Rexford will no longer be employed by our security company. We will also be implementing mandatory sensitivity and veteran awareness training for all our staff immediately. General Thompson put a supportive arm around Arthur's shoulders. Arthur, shall we? Arthur smiled faintly. Thank you, General. Thank you. As they walked into the grand hall, a wave of applause rippled through the guests who had witnessed or heard about the incident. Arthur, a man who sought no attention, found himself the focus of it, but this time, it was a wave of respect and admiration. The story of the quiet, unassuming veteran and the arrogant guard spread like wildfire through the event and, later, online. The security company issued a formal public apology and made a significant donation to a veterans charity in Arthur Miller's name. They instituted new protocols for handling guests at such events, ensuring that respect and verification were handled with dignity. Arthur Miller enjoyed the rest of his evening, catching up with old friends, sharing stories, and feeling, finally, the warmth of true appreciation. He never spoke of the incident at the door again, unless asked. He remained the same humble, quiet man he had always been. He was glad justice had been served, not just for him, but for the principle of respecting those who had served. This story teaches us a powerful lesson. Never judge a book by its cover. True heroes often walk among us, quiet and unassuming, their courage hidden beneath ordinary clothes. Respect is earned through character and action, not through a fancy uniform or a loud voice. If you believe that every veteran deserves our utmost respect and gratitude, please subscribe to this channel for more stories that honor them. And remember, sometimes the quietest people carry the loudest stories of bravery. Type respect all if you agree. Thank you for listening.